Hey, this is Will with Asheville Guitar and Instrument. Today we have a 1975 Takamine TW-40g. I don't know what the G stands for. I haven't been able to find much information online, but I'm going to keep looking. This guitar was made in Japan in 1975. It's got a solid spruce top, I'm sure of that. And it's in really good shape. It's got a few dings here and there. It's got the herringbone trim on the edge, and it's got a rosewood back and sides. We're going to be listing this on Reverb soon, and it's the Doc Watson Gallagher model, so it's a replica of a Gallagher Doc Watson. Looks like D28. So I'm going to be restringing this, and I'll be back after that. Thanks. So I really didn't know what strings to use on this guitar. I just found some coated Diodario for those XS mediums. So we're going to try those on there. And it had a pretty bright tone, so I'm thinking these strings will mellow it down just a little bit. These coated strings last forever. You know, I like them on some guitars, and some guitars I don't. I think I like them on this guitar. Hey, I just wanted to comment on the quality of Japanese instruments. I've always enjoyed them when I saw them in pawn shops or found them online, or maybe a friend had one. But really, I sold a bunch of stuff on Reverb. A couple months ago, I sold about $10,000 worth of stuff, so I started buying Yaris, Japanese Yaris, and most of them, all of them, sound awesome. If I can get this going right. There we go. But from there, I started looking at other Japanese builds. So many. And there's so many of those companies in the 60s doing classical guitars. Into the 70s when they really started making them. Really started copying a lot of American stuff and doing it really well. And in a lot of cases, I'm sure you've heard, better than we were doing them over here in the States. All those Yaris, a lot of those Yaris, Martin copies, and God, it just sound amazing. Some of them are solid wood, and some of them are the special Japanese lamination. And they take 3 solid pieces of tone wood, they cut it with their special machine, and then they glue it together. And that's the Yamaha laminate. But anyway, you know, you've heard the old Yamaha, is it the FG180s? Such a common guitar, but I believe Yamaha was the first one that came up with a lamination idea. And they just last forever. And the necks, I found out the other day, are heavily epoxied, so they're strong. So when you've seen a you know, like a 1968 Yamaha, made in Japan, of course, with the neck does not need a neck reset. probably settled in some, but a lot of them don't need neck resets. So you see the action a little bit lower sometimes on these guitars, and at first it kind of worried me because I'm used to a Martin or a Gibson. Once you don't have a whole bunch of meat lift on the saddle, it's time to do a neck reset on a Martin or a Gibson or whatever. Made mistakes with not epoxy glue, and but I don't worry about it anymore. So they just I had a friend contact Yari and ask him about that, and they had said instead of a neck reset, you can do the bridge reduction, taking the bridge off and sanding that down. That's something I haven't done yet, but I'd like to try it soon. That, of course, brings the bridge down more in line with the end of the fretboard. Remember a luthier friend of mine, Sam Makins. He's in Duncan, South Carolina. He's a great guy, great luthier. But he always told me that if you look down the edge of the fretboard, if you go right off the edge, and the edge at the end of the fretboard should pretty much kiss the top, right under the top of the bridge. And if that's pretty much in line, you know that your guitar does not need a neck reset. It's a pretty good rule of thumb, works pretty good. Alright, we're going to get this last string on, and we'll see you in a minute. Hey, it's Will from Asheville Vintage Guitar and Instrument again. We made it. We got this thing restrung and tuned up. I didn't have to tighten the truss rod at all. The neck is pretty dang straight. Looking down it that way. I'll put the Diodario medium XS coated strings on. I really like them. I was using a Dunlop Duramax 1.5 pick. This is one of my favorite picks, just almost for any guitar, but with these strings I need something with a little more treble, so I broke out a 2.0 prime tone. These prime tones are great. I don't like them on all guitars because they're so bright, but it sounds really good with these XS strings. love that upper end, really chimey, but not too chimey. It's a perfect balance. And this thing is, you know, I don't really know what the diameters of the woods are. This feels like, you know, you can feel if one's thick or if one's thin. This feels like it's a nice medium to almost a little lighter than medium. So I think it really allows it to sustain. A long time. And yeah, I was going to say one more thing about the lamination, which I'm getting ready to go do some research on actually. But yeah, I was saying that what I do know is that the Japanese builders use a 2 or 3 ply of a special machine to cut the thin pieces of wood. It's still tone wood. It's still, you know, Brazilian rosewood or mahogany or whatever. And they take those layers and they glue them together. And over time, and over, I don't know, 10, 20 years, the glue dries and it really gives a very unique tone to these Japanese guitars. They just, it's hard to, I'm pretty sure this is a ply. But it's hard to tell. If you played a bunch of Martins and Gibsons, you'd probably know the difference. That a Martin it just sounds more singular, and it gives you a kind of a wholesome feeling when you're, you know, hearing the solid wood Martin. But you know, you really can't compare Japanese laminated guitars to Martins because they're two different animals. So these the Japanese laminated, after 20-30 years, they really started to get really super loud, and really brings the tone out. And they're very unique sounding, and they sound great, you know. And it's good to be able to appreciate different builds and different, you know, different builds in different in different places, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying, but this is probably a laminated, but it sounds so good. Subscribe if you like us. Please hit that thumbs up if you like us. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping in.